edition of The Closed Fist. I am Russ, that's Will, that's Joey, and our special guest for the day, Dan Murphy from Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Yes.
We locked him in, he can't leave.
There's chains on the door, literally.
People have been calling here for him already.
As you heard in the first segment, yes. Matt, women's evolution, women's revolution has exploded, and it's exploded to the point where
Sounds so naughty.
we made history.
Yes.
And we'll be making history again soon, but made history with the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. Give us your thoughts on that.
I was surprised that it headlined. There was a lot of things with that show. I was interested. Traditionally, women's battle royals have always been you don't go over the top rope, you go through the ropes. Anyway, you get to the floor, and it's because the women are shorter. It's a little bit harder to get over the top rope, and especially if girls 5'1", 5'2", and some of the girls are around that size. Getting over the ropes takes a little bit of doing. But they kept the same rules, and I thought it went really well. I mean, there was some, Kelly wasn't at the top of her game.
Well,
Thank you. All right, somebody said it. All right, good.
We've been saying it for a while.
There are a few girls who, but any battle royal, any Royal Rumble, any battle royal has some kind of sloppiness to it. I mean, it happens. So, but what really impressed me was that, number one, that the right person won, in my opinion. They had Asuka win. But number two, that they went last in Philadelphia. And there was a potential. Philly has a notoriously hostile audience.
They booed Santa Claus, for God's sake.
Yeah, they threw snowballs, right? And, it shows the confidence that WWE had in its women's division to think, okay, we're going to put it out there, and these girls are going to be able to take it, and it worked. So I thought it was a success. The right person won. Certain things I would have changed here and there. It was nice to see a lot of the girls come back, the women come back for the kind of, legacy appearances.
Including Buffalo's own
Beth
Phoenix.
Yes, absolutely. I really wanted to see a spot. I wanted to see if it was the women's match first and then the men's match, is have in the women's match Santina Marella show up. Right? And then all the women stop, and Santina comes out wearing his Miss WrestleMania sash, and they all look.
Awesome.
Gets in the ring, they kick the shit out of him, throw him over the top rope, whatever. He's gone. And then that way, it's a symbolic way of saying that era is done.
Done.
Okay.
Right.
And we eliminated that, and we, just the symbolism. And then in the men's Royal Rumble, have Santino come out, get in the ring, all the guys look at him, and Santino like, oh, well, I know what they're going to do. Just step over the rope. I thought that would have been the perfect spot.
You're making too much sense here. Stop yourself. Stop it.
So I would have booked things differently. But no, it was a terrific job, and congratulations to WWE for actually seeing that through and making that happen.
And now it looks like that we're going to make history once again with the first ever, and there may be other first evers this year, who knows, first ever Elimination Chamber involving all women. As of right now, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Mandy Rose, Mickie James, Sonya Deville, and Sasha Banks. A couple of surprising names in there, that being Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, that they've recently been called up, and now they're being thrusted into kind of a spotlight position.
Yeah, it definitely, but it's also a smart way for WWE to kind of hedge its bets, because they're being thrust in, but they're mixed in with a multiple women match with bigger names. So it's a good way to kind of introduce them to the main event picture. Not that it's the main event necessarily, the pay-per-view, but it's the top women's match in the pay-per-view, without having to necessarily carry the ball themselves. It's kind of a smart way to just kind of bring them in, let's see what they can do, give them some spots, and see if they're ready to take it to the next level. And I think that, I don't know if they quite are. I think that of the recent call-ups, I think the one who's most ready is Ruby Riott, Heidi Lovelace from her independent days. I think the others are talented, but again, like Alexa Bliss, I didn't think she was ready, and look what she's done over the past year. So it'll be good to see how they kind of compete and how they stand out in a match like that.
More Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Oh boy, somebody hose him down.
Love that girl.
Do we have to give Bailey a hug or something like that? Because I mean, do you? Every time she comes out, I'm like, she should be more.
Yeah.
It should be. I mean, she should be more in the main
Like
event
they pulled the rug
picture.
out from under her almost. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, her whole character was an underdog, a plucky girl next door underdog, and that's got a limited staying power. You can't stay that forever because if you're the underdog, it's like James Ellsworth. James Ellsworth was a great underdog. You did it for as long as you could, and then you have to turn him heel to try to extend it and do a little bit of something with it, and then you let him go. So he had about maybe a year run, roughly.
A lot longer than many people would have thought.
Oh, absolutely. Bailey's whole character is based on being that underdog, and you either change her character where she's not that anymore and get rid of the hugging, and it's risky because it was so over at one point, but it's just not anymore. Or you turn her heel. It's kind of the next step. Because the booking to her booking hasn't helped her. When she won the title for the first time, it was on Raw. It wasn't with a huge build-up on a pay-per-view, and it was because Sasha Banks interfered and hit Charlotte and allowed her to hit the Bailey to belly. So yeah, the booking hasn't helped her, and she's kind of stuck on a treadmill now with a lot of other girls coming in. So she needs to, I would say, complete gimmick overhaul would be the next step.
Do you think the WWE as a whole, not just the women's division, but as a whole, has lacked not only creativity but the ability to evolve a character?
In WWE as
Yeah.
opposed to NXT?
Well, I'll give you this example. Triple H
Okay.
came in as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, then you had the DX days, then you had the game, and you saw like an evolution, or like an evolving character there. But I don't think that that's really happened since, or I can't think of a guy that they've allowed to really evolve.
Very few have been able to evolve. I mean, Undertaker's the guy who evolved.
Right.
His character, he was still the Undertaker at heart, but he went through the American Badass, went through all this stuff, and incorporated MMA stuff and whatever. Yet you're right. I don't think that there's anyone that they've really committed to that much. Even John Cena hasn't really evolved. He's really been the same kind of one-note guy all the way through. Yeah, you're right.
I've seen enough.
Yeah, Roman Reigns, same thing. So I think you're right. That may be something that is, and that's the challenge. Do you, as a performer, do you kind of push that boundary and say, I want to change my character and really go with it, or do you say, this is what the office wants? Let's keep it as it is.
That's a great point. Like I was going to say, are they not changing just simply because somebody's writing all their shit? Somebody's telling them what to do, how to do it, what to say. I mean, there's no freedom, there's no character building anymore, as opposed to The Rock. He had his own. It was all him. You know, Cena in the beginning was all him. Now it's so scripted that
Now what
how
you
do you
have
grow?
to do is you have to go and lobby the writers. So it's not you have an idea and you have to go to a writing team and say, hey, Jimmy Jacobs, he's not with him anymore, but Jimmy Jacobs, I'd really like to do this with my character. How do we do this? And then that guy has to go and whatever. So it can still be done, but yeah, it is more of a collaborative process than what wrestling has always traditionally been, which is, this is me. I'm going to go out there and try to get over this way, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to change and I'm going to try to get over this way. And now it's corporate. So everybody's got to be on the same page because we've already licensed your image for the video game that comes out next year. We have this going on. We have this going on. We can't just change everything right now. So.
Well, now, and I think you kind of led into maybe what.
Oh, the mic! Oh, the humanity!
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Down goes Stone Cold.
Now, that's going to be in the outtakes. Trust me. I think you may. Would you say that you've outlaid like some of the problem then, and that it's not just about the character; it's what they're tied to the merchandising. Mm-hmm. They build up the merchandise a certain way. They have to keep the character that way for the merchandising aspect of it. Does that at that point become harmful?
It depends. I mean, it depends on how much merchandise, and what the financials obligations are. If the merchandise sells and everyone's happy, the company's happy, the performer's happy, they may not be the character necessarily that they want to be or the persona that they want to put out there. But if they're making money, they're happy with it typically, unless somebody like we were talking about before we started taping, Cody Rhodes. You know, a guy who really wanted something else. Not that he was selling a ton of merchandise, so maybe it's a bad example, but he's a guy who really wanted something else. And he finally said, you know, it's just not worth it to me. I'm going to leave and do what I want to do elsewhere. And I think that's what everyone has to look at. With the women right now, I don't see anyone who would want to leave. Even somebody like Bailey, who's in a little bit of a down period, because the tide it's rising so much for women to be a part of the women's division in WWE is going to help everybody.
I think she's too good in the ring. Personally, I think Bailey's one of my favorites. I mean, the gimmick may not be the best thing you've ever seen, but I think she's great. She's does a really good job, and I think she'll figure it out, or they'll figure it out for her or something. You know,
I'm not sold on her at all.
What?
I'm not holding my breath. Oh my God, no.
Wow.
Well, you want to talk about Liv Morgan, and you want to talk about
I just love her, that's all.
Oh my God.
No, if you're going to talk about in the ring,
I'm talking about in-ring stuff. You can sit here.
We're just gonna sit back.
I don't
and
think
just, like,
Bailey
watch
can hold
these two.
I don't think Bailey can hold anything to a Charlotte Flair or a Sasha in the ring.
Well, Charlotte.
Bailey and any of them have not put on a match anything like the two of them have.
I don't know what you're watching, man.
Wrestling.
Could be personal opinion, maybe a personal opinion. I think she does a great job. Like I said, the
I
gimmick
think
might not be my
Willie's
favorite
got a
thing in the
boner for
world.
Bailey.
Will has never come up to the understanding that Demolition is the greatest tag team of all time.
Get the fuck.
Wait, that's okay, because you know what? Somebody can't take that The Miz is the greatest wrestler of the year.
I'm gonna puke on your shoe.
When the hand goes up, your
I'm
mouth
gonna
goes shut.
I'm gonna puke on your shoe right now. I swear.
No,
Sorry, my dog did it once this week. We're good.
we have a back and forth about the Miz, and you know he can't stand.
I'm giving your dog chocolate. We'll see what happens then.
You talking about my dogs. Anyway.
Russ goes through his first table today.
Yes.
With PWI, a few years back, we had Miz as number one in the PWI 500. Remember?
There you go, Russ.
Well, no, I hated it. We all hated it. I remember driving.
I'm not saying we agree with it.
I
But
drove to Philadelphia for the board meeting, and I'm just thinking out the whole drive. I'm like, we're gonna have to go with Miz. Like nobody's had a better year than Miz. That's when Miz headlined WrestleMania and won. You know that match. So he was on all the shows. He was doing like Tough Enough, where he was mentoring Daniel Bryan. He was doing all this stuff. It's like he's everywhere. Like he's got to be number one. And the whole drive, I'm like, somebody talked me out of it. Somebody at this editorial meeting talked me out of it. And then, sure enough, Miz, we had him as number one.
Why didn't you?
Cover in the magazine.
You should have called me. I would have bought you beer. I would have brought you like pints of bacon.
Wait, you ain't bringing him a pint of bacon to talk him out of it.
I'll make my own pint of bacon to get that done. Are you kidding me?
Those are
But
secrets.
here's my question. Since we're on this topic, last year I would say he brought the Intercontinental Championship, a belt that's kind of fallen off fall out of favor, let's say, you know, and he's brought it back to prominence on television. He's really done a good job with it.
The promos he cut with
And the
Cena were
promos again. I'm not saying he's the best. He's the best wrestler ever. I'm never gonna say that.
I need that Tylenol real quick.
Yeah, I think. But when you say he's put on some of the best television stuff, he does a really good job. That's more of what we're saying. It's not like he's a good wrestler.
I
It's
agree.
you know,
I mean, no one's going to confuse him with Lou Thez, but when he's on TV, you have to watch that segment because it's going to be good.
yeah, you're gonna tune in.
Here's
And they brought us the Miztourage. Come on. Sing to us for Christmas.
I have the mute button on auto at that point. It's specifically programmed that whenever he comes on, his mouth goes shut.
The thing with Miz, though, is it can pass the test of non-wrestling fans. If you're in a room and wrestling's on, and like you're like, oh, hey, I want to watch this for a little bit, and now you know that everybody's judging you because if what comes on is stupid, everyone's gonna be, you watch this stupid stuff. And
Every Monday night we put it on here, and we're listening like, why are you watching?
Judge us.
Right, yeah, and it's just kind of like, okay, so you're like, when Miz comes on, it's like, okay, people may not like him, he may get heat, that's what he's trying to do, but at least it's going to be an entertaining segment, and no one's going to be like, oh, this is stupid. So,
It's stupid.
Can I hit him with your book?
Yeah.
By the way, you can get it at
On Amazon.com.
And any other bookstore in town.
1995.